I think that we need to start to rethink some of the things we teach. Let's stop teaching that the purpose of the firm is to make money for the shareholder. Let's start to have a serious conversation over what is the proper balance between business and government in the market. We have a very dumb debate right now. It's either all or nothing. That doesn't work. Start to talk about limits to economic growth, alternative forms of growth. Stop teaching that nature is merely a resource for our supply chains. I could go on, but really rethink the core, and I just don't mean the core courses, but the overall concept of how we do business education. And I don't mean just rearrange the courses as they are. So you get a 2-year degree, you get 4 semesters per year, you get 4 courses per semester, so that's 32 courses. Let's figure out what those are going to be. Start to think about short-term modules, long-term modules. I was just at IMD, and they have what they call transversal skills, and they have like 6 skills at the beginning that they give these short modules that span through the entire curriculum. Sustainability is one of them. AI is another. Pattern recognition is another. These are all important things that span through. A really complete rethinking of the curriculum. And I also recognize that you as a dean, that is an unbelievable undertaking, because herding faculty is herding cats. I know exactly the environment that a dean lives in. But I think the role of dean has been undermined by the over expectation that they focus primarily on fundraising. That's certainly true in the United States.
Right.
I've seen a clever way of handling that. Wake Forest for a while had 2 deans. They had an external dean and an internal dean. The external dean fundraising, and they got the former CEO of PepsiCo. Brilliant. The internal dean built the school. That makes sense to me. So how do you build a school that responds to student demands, responds to what society needs, and not be afraid to be different. Right now we have a monoculture. Every school is trying to be the same thing, driven by the rankings, driven by the reward systems, which are same at all schools. I saw a talk recently by David Brooks, and he said something that has just never left my mind. He said there are certain schools where you meet their graduates, you know they went there. And it's not just the skills they have, it's their worldview, their sense of place. How many business schools could say that?
Yeah.
I don't think mine could. But what if you did? What would those students look like? Could you bring your faculty together and say, we're not just educating knowledge, we're forming character, we're forming integrity. What do those people look like? How do we create that? And then if people have a common vision, then you can start to build the course around that. Again, I don't envy a dean that challenge, but I think that's
but you're right. I mean, I think there's some there's a lot of things in what you're saying that resonate with what we have tried to do for the last 4 or 5 years with our strategy of transforming business for good. And I mean, it does require, and there's a big level of inertia. Now in Europe, the other part of it is
if I can say something, I think if I understand the history of Trinity Business School, you really started to take off only like 10, 12, 15 years ago. So in many ways, you're a greenfield.
Exactly.
And that's a huge opportunity.
Yes.
My school, it's a brownfield.
I know.
And the entrenched interests are very hard to dislodge.
No, and I know, and that's the opportunity that we have. And if you look at like what we've been able to do at undergrad, like in the area of sustainability, and some of the courses on postgrad, I don't think we would have been able to move like as fast as we have in other institutions. Right. So we have embodied like a lot of module. We have those, those sets of skills that are embodied in the curriculum. There is kind of, and we are starting to see an effect of our strategy in the type of graduate that we attract. What, in other words, why, but it's a bit counterintuitive, because the thing is, for a business school in Europe, certainly mine, you don't go out and get like millions from CEO. This is not the tradition in Europe. you get your money in a business school from the fees of the student, and especially at postgraduate. Why do you do a postgraduate education? To specialize in a field and to get a job. And so if that value proposition is not there, then you don't have money to do the things that you want to do, and you literally have nothing to offer. So in other words, if we launch a program such as, and they are specialized program, maybe that was the wrong approach, but still we have one like this, an MSc in responsible business and sustainability, right? Very successful, a bit of philanthropy. Problem is, like, some of those graduate, even though I really do think it's a great, and we tackle on many of the points you have mentioned. I truly think it's a great degree, and but the market, or especially in the last 2 or 3 years, has shifted, and there's not a very high demand for those graduates. Now, we're not going to continue to bring graduate, to throw them in the wall, and they are not going to be willing to pay anyway. Now, we have received scholarship for a number of places in that masters, but so that's one of the limits. Just one example.
Right.
So you have to be cognizant of that fact. And so when people come to us to do an MBA, for example, we have embodied like a lot of element. Now I'm the dean, and I don't go into the nitty-gritty of the module, but like there's one on climate action and leadership. In other words, it's leadership in challenging times, and it kind of tackle, like, what does it mean to be an ethical leader, taking into account like those things, but it's leadership. So there's a couple of other modules like that. They're all very interesting. At the end of the day, if the student come, like, to get a job in Salesforce or in Microsoft, we produce certain type of graduate. I do think we're starting to see an effect as, like, in terms of, like, you be able to differentiate between a Trinity graduate and some other graduate, but it's never as drastic as you want it to be, because there are literally market constraints. So you're trying to change the market, like, as if you want, or have an effect on it, a positive effect, but you are very much constrained by the fact that you are partaking in that market.
And I've focused on sustainability. It wasn't sustainability when I started; it was environmental issues. But leave that aside. In the last 5 or 6 years, I've really stopped talking about sustainability, because I think that the real question before us is, what's the next variant of capitalism, and how do we develop the kind of business leaders we need for the 21st century? That can be sustainability. It can be anything. It doesn't have to be that. And I think that is the challenge before us, and it's a challenge for all of higher education. There is a growing debate. Derek Bach, former president of Harvard, Shapiro, I'm blanking on his first name, Harold Shapiro, president of Princeton, Anthony Crumman, the dean of the Yale Law School, have all been written about David Brooks has written about this, that universities used to help people develop a meaningful philosophy of life. We don't do that anymore. We just give you skills to get a job. And we are doing students a disservice, particularly undergraduate students. When students do an undergraduate business degree at that formative stage where they're trying to figure out who they are and what their character is, and we're teaching them it's all about money, we're doing a tremendous disservice. So how do we create the kind of thoughtful leaders? Because I think that's a problem for higher education writ large, but it's a bigger problem for business schools, because our graduates have such a disproportionate influence on society. So if we're producing people that don't care about anything but money, we're going to have the kind of leadership we have today.
That's very true, and I think we're certainly for us, we are particularly pleased with, like, the changes that we've made to our curriculum. That being said, especially the first year, we have built a lot of emphasis on and I'm not sure the course is called. It's business and nature. So it's basically like, how do you link those two ecosystems, the business ecosystem and the natural ecosystem? And it's being taught by people who are both part of the business community, but also a scientist and naturalogist that, be able to actually educate people business people on like the on biodiversity.
And I bet your
And that's
students are eating it up.
So
They-
and that's really important. But you do get like the odd criticism of students who said, "Listen, I did come. I came here to do a business degree, and like." 3 of my module out of 8 in first year are not really business related module because they talk about like those wider issues. Yeah. So listen, that's fine, and it's a balance.
I was a chemical engineer undergrad, and I didn't want to take quantum physics. Too bad I had to take it.
No, that's fine. So, and we're very fortunate that most of our students are very engaged in the topic and embrace it, and we see it in the last year of their study when they have to do a capstone project. A lot of them veer towards the topic of innovation and sustainability, nature-based economy. Of course, there's plenty of other topics that they might choose from, but there's quite a demand for this.
And I would add one more thing. I mean, most business schools evaluate the success of their programs by the job out of the gate.
Well, that's what ranking.
But you know what's an even important metric? Are you satisfied with a college degree 10, 15, 20 years? Did it launch you and give you what you need to live, I don't want to say happy life per se, but a meaningful life? If it did, that's a good college education.